Been 455 days since I went ahead and last reset. I did 48 resets a very long time ago, and I told myself that I was done resetting. I would never reset again. So I went ahead and climbed to 999, got that achieved on December 25th of 2021. And then after I climbed to 999, I said that I was staying there and I was going to help everybody also get to 999. Now, when I did my climb, it was easy, but I made it a lot harder than it needed to be. Now, you can look at my old videos and you can think, oh, you kind of made it look easy. But when I look back at some of my videos, I realized that I made a lot of small errors, and I could have made it a ton easier on myself, and not only myself, but my climbing partner, Hedonez. But yeah, so it's been quite some time since then, and I've gotten a lot more practice. And not only that, but I've learned a lot more about the game since then. Also, since then, the Mystic has been reworked, and Temple itself has had a little rework, like Paynar no longer being in the game, which Paynar was a huge reason for a lot of endgame lag. But yeah, they fixed a lot of different things, and the lag is what made endgame so incredibly hard to begin with. And with that no longer really being an issue now, there is some lag on some maps, but for the most part it is no longer an issue. But they also changed things like the spawns and how they how like different enemies can't spawn unless there's a certain number, like, so there's like a certain number already spawned. More enemies cannot spawn, so they basically lowered that number so it's less enemies on the map at a time, and you're able to basically abuse that mechanic to stop things from spawning altogether and just have one lane come out at a time, and everybody goes, clears one lane and moves to the next lane. And I've myself have abused that mechanic a few times on harder lanes. Like there was like a headstrong lane, like a headstrong frosty lane. You will be able to stall that lane from coming out until everybody was ready to migrate over to that lane by just having the other lanes on the map just basically crowd up the enemies and not let them, like, not actually kill them, but just holding them long enough just to keep that number above a certain threshold. But that's something completely different. It is a lot that kind of goes into that, and a lot of I guess planning and everything with your group. But yeah, so with those different additions to the game, it kind of made things incredibly easy. It was also incredibly easy prior because we did get C8, we got C8 relics and all that stuff, so of course we became more powerful. The pet empowerment made it so we became more powerful, and the changes to some shards also made it so we became more powerful. And Onslaught has just became such an easy game mode now that I found I have no reason to stay at 999 to help people, because nobody really needs my help anymore. They didn't even need it before, they just needed kind of like advice. But now there's been like so many people since I hit 999 that there's really no point for me to even be there. Which kind of sounds a little bit selfish, but I guess it is what it is. But since I hit 999, there's been at least 30 other people. There's been a little bit more, but they were banned off like leaderboards and everything, so I can't get an exact number. But there's been at least 30 people from Steam, and I believe like 60 altogether through console and Steam, or it might be like 50 something. I don't remember the exact number, but there's been a lot of people. As far as the Steam groups of 999 climbers went, I've helped out a lot of them, and I've noticed during a lot of those climbs that really I was just there just to be there. Like I was just adding AP to the group, and there was no need for me to actually be there to help these people because they didn't need it. They could do it all by themselves. Um, but yeah, so that played a good part in it. Another thing is that there's been a few like challenges that I had, little personal challenges, like being able to figure out a AFK headstrong build without positive mutators, which I went ahead and I uploaded a video fairly recently on it. But I was able to complete that. Be able to AFK a long shot lane. I've also been able to complete that and AFK a spider lane and a Kursakazi lane. And the Kursakazi lane I went ahead and AFK'd. Well, I shouldn't say I did. It was on Frankie's climb. But it was me, Frankie McDoublecarry that were in the group. So he went ahead and AFK'd it with tenacity traps. But it was a 226 enemy Kursakazi lane. So Timmy's Revenge, if you're aware of the Timmy's Revenge lane, it was a Timmy's Revenge, but it was a Kursakazi lane. There was a lot of enemies coming out of it. But yeah, that lane ended up being AFKable during their climb. Long shot lane, we AFK'd a spider lane before with fissures. You just place down fissures, and the reason why fissures work so well against spiders is because of Embermouth Flames. If you have Embermouth Flames, then basically the spiders die outside of your fissure, so it doesn't debuff anything. It basically kills them further down lane, but obviously it will only work on lanes that are a lot longer. So short lanes to the core, they won't work on, but nonetheless, we still were able to AFK it. So yeah, but with all that, like I realized just like how ridiculously easy Onslaught is, and a few weeks after I reset, it was further proved on how easy it was by a player named Artie, which we all know. Artie has 0 resets and was able to successfully beat an endgame temple in 2.5 hours, I believe it was. And that was 2.5 hours including build phase. So he soloed an endgame temple with 0 resets, no OP Mystic in 2.5 hours, including build phase. And it wasn't like a map that we all knew, oh, this map was super easy. It was basically a random map that he was trying out. Ended up doing it. Not to mention, he almost beat it twice. Endgame Temple, solo, 0 resets, without an OP Mystic, twice in the same week. I should say that it was only a few days apart, honestly, but the first attempt he did with it, he ended up getting stuck on wave 5 out of 6, and the only reason why he could not complete it was because the lane had power block on it, and he wasn't able to use the gun wedge to be able to clear it out. So yeah, so it was kind of pretty rough, but nonetheless he was able to complete it. Now this happened after I reset, so that did not go into my decision, but we all knew eventually Artie was going to go ahead and do this. It was only about time. So, and he went ahead and did it, and I think like a few days later, a week later, he ended up resetting himself, for basically the exact same reason. He did everything that he could possibly do, and there was no point in him, you know, staying up there. Like, you might as well just reset, get all your AP and all that stuff. He proved all he could to the community. But yeah, but that was basically the reasoning behind my reset. So I'm sure you guys will be looking forward to my reset build, which I put a lot of time and effort into figuring out, and it's a pretty solid one. But on the next video, we're going to be talking about my reset build and its strengths, its weaknesses, and all that fun stuff.